now, what I'm going to show you how to do is prep your loom for tomorrow morning. So that way you can have it all ready to go for tomorrow when Maggie comes to show us how to actually do the cardboard loom weaving. Madison's not here anymore. It's just me. So I will show you what to do, and then I'll come in and check the comments too, but I might might take me a minute to get back to you. This is what I have. A big old box, a pair of scissors, and the yarn that I'm going to use for my warp thread, which is the part that gets like this through the loom. You can decide what size you want to make your loom, your cardboard loom. We're going to do kind of I'm going to make like a little small one, and I will post in the comments on this post the sample that Maggie sent me. I think hers is about 5 by 7. All right, so I'm going to flip the camera around. We're going to get this loom set up. So I have some not probably super sharp scissors here. Just going to cut one of these edges off. That's probably really loud. Okay. Now you have a couple of options at this point. See how, because this is corrugated cardboard, it's going to be stronger. Like, see how it bends going this way. So it's going to be stronger if we make our slits for our loom in the same grain as the corrugated cardboard. So to do that, I don't even have to measure at all. I'm just going to make little slits in between all of these. And I don't want to make it this wide, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to cut it, fold it, and I'm going to cut it here. And then I'm going to make a teeny tiny one. Cut it here. But like I said, you can make it as big as you want. Okay. So now I'm just going to make little slits. I'm going to jump in about 2 corrugated things, just so it's not too close to the edge. But I am just making slits in between. And you could mark these to make sure that they get all the same length, but I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, so here's what we're at now. So I left 2 corrugated lines on each side, and then I sliced in between all the other ones. So now I have to turn it around and do it to this other side. Okay, there we go. I think we're good. So now I've got my slits on both ends like that. It's time to wrap it up. So I'm going to take my yarn. I'm going to tie a knot on one end. Ooh, I'm really not good at trying to do this on my own. I'm going to tie a double knot. Oh, Summer, thanks for letting me know that you can see in here. Okay. It's kind of weird, like, teaching in a vacuum like this. Like I'm talking to myself. And everything's a little delayed. Okay. I'm going to move you over, I think. All right. So now we'll take where I tied that knot. Where's my first one? Okay. That's going to help it stick and hold back there. Yeah? So now I just come down, and then I'm going to come back up on the same side. Makes sense? So I just looped it around, and then I'm going to come straight down and loop it around. I might not have cut these long enough. let's see, down, loop around. There we go. If you're having trouble getting it to fit, you can cut those slits a little bit longer. I'm trying to keep it equally tight, so there's not like loose strands and tight strands, but it's not like super tight. It's not real. I'm not pulling it tight. I'm just trying to keep everything equal. Okay, so if you're just joining in, I'll go back and kind of, when I get this done, show you again. But I almost lost my yarn off the table. All right, this is the last one, so I'm coming down to the bottom here, and then we're going to tie another knot back here to hold everything in place. So I'm just going to cut this off, and let's see if I can tie this knot where I want it. Okay, guys, thank you so much for participating in Quarantine Craft Camp and for joining these lives. It just makes me so happy that we can all do this together, and I love seeing all the things that you share. So thank you for participating. Okay, there we go. So from the front, can you see that? Yep. From the front, there's your loom. Like I said, you can make it as big as you want, but just remember that we're slicing, we're going with the grain of the cardboard. So if I were to use, like on my box, if I were to use one of the flaps here, the grain goes on along the short edge. So if you want a bigger loom, you're going to want to use a bigger part of the box. Make sense?
So I'm going to show you my example first. You guys should have looms already prepped, hopefully. If not, it's pretty simple. You can look at Joe's last video, I guess, on Facebook to see how to prep these, and then come back to this video when you're ready. But one great thing about weaving is it's really approachable. Simple steps, but then you can make all sorts of different styles of weavings. So we're going to start with some fringe, love a good fringe, and then do some just plain weaves. We have a real funky guys in here, but I wanted to show you this example to say that you can really make a weaving out of any material you have at home. For this one I used yarn, I used some ribbon in here, and then I also have this old t-shirt, just Walmart shirt I was going to donate, and so I figured, you know what, might as well repurpose that for a weaving, and so that is what this thicker material is. So if you don't have a lot of yarn colors, you can just get old fabric that you aren't really using anymore, cut it up into strips and use that. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well today. All right, so for our one, we are going to start with fringe. So let's see. I'm going to get our material out, and you can make fringe as where's our end?
I don't know where the end is.
Should I just use this one? Okay.
Sometimes
Stuff all
yarn
him
is
back
frustrating.
in. I know. Okay, so we're just going to use this guy. So for fringe, you can make it as long or short as you want. What I like to do, just because it's the easiest, is to wrap it around my hand. So you're going to look at how many spaces you have. You can count them out. I'm not really a counter type. I just like to go for it and then make more if I need it. But we're going to need 2 strips for each set of 2, essentially. So if you have, 12 strands or what? Warp. I always get those confused. Okay.
The way I remember it is the warp. It will get warped if you
if you squeeze them. Okay. So you need essentially 1 strand for each warp, but you could add more too if you want. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hold the end of my yarn with my thumb and my finger, and then just wrap around the width of my hand like this, however many times we need for this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'm just going to do 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. One more. Okay. Then, after I have them all here, what I'm going to do is cut them apart.
Well, those scissors I cut cardboard with, so they're probably mad at me
A
now.
little rough. Okay, so now I have my strands. Very simple. And since we have pretty thin yarn, we're going to double it up. If you have thick yarn to do, you only really need to use one strand at a time. But I'm going to double it up because we are kind of thin. So, I've got my strands, 2 strands, and what we're going to do is, we're kind of like tying knots, but there's a certain way to do it that'll make it look pretty by the end. It's okay if they're not the same size. But I'm going to lay it over the first 2 warp. And what I'm going to do is take our little fringe. Okay. I'm going to take our fringe. It's laid over like this, right? I'm going to take our fringe and poke it inside both of those warps. So I poked it inside here. It's coming through, right? And I'm going to do the same thing to the other one. I'm trying not to cover it with my hands. So now we have 2 fringe sticking out the top, and we've got a little loop at the bottom. So now how we're going to make it stay still is we're going to open this loop up and poke the 4 fringe through that loop. So we just poked them, now they're at the bottom. So now I'm going to take my fringe and just pull it tight to the end, just like that. A little fringe. We don't want it to like constrict the warp fully. We don't want to warp the warp now. That would be crazy. So we want to make sure that the knot's a little bit loose so we still have some distance right there. Okay, so I'm going to keep going and go slow and kind of show you on the next view how we did that. Also, you like my half glitter nail polish? Okay, so again, we lay it over our 2. So we're skipping to our next 2 now. We're going to go under, under through the top, like that, and pull it through. Then we're going to go under through the other one and pull it through the top again. Okay, now that we know that these are kind of the same length up here, we're going to go through our loop and pull them down through the loop and down at the bottom, not too tight.
Can you not just put them down to begin with?
I've never tried that.
Because I've never done it up like that before.
You just put them down to begin with?
Yeah.
Does that not? Let's
try it.
I
don't know, because I don't know if
I don't know.
Just never
just
did
go
it
like
right.
This?
Yeah.
And it doesn't slide out? I assume it would slide out. Guess not.
Doesn't it look the same?
This, okay. It has a little extra like curl in there that keeps it a little bit tighter, but honestly, it's just the same, I think, style-wise. You can just see on this one that we have a little bit extra like.
Okay.
That's interesting.
So
I don't know why I learned it the hard
wrong,
way.
like I've been doing, because I wasn't paying attention when Maggie taught it the first time, it'll work. But you're right. Like I always thought
it looks the same.
Yeah, it looks the same, but it'll be more secure if you go up first.
I think. I mean, I taught myself how to do this. Like nobody taught me how to do this, so I'm gonna try Joe's way. So we just went under. Go this way. So instead of poking up then down, just go under, and then all you have to do is pull it tight. So the reason that we can have these loose, and the reason it's probably fine if you do it either way, is because when we take it off, these little loops are going to secure those in. So really, it can be loose. You can do it. Alright, I'm going to finish up these last ones real quick.
Yeah, because what do we do when there's just...
we have one left. I know, that's kind of sneaky. Okay, ideally we could just have like an even number. So if you haven't made yours yet, you could try to do an even number of warp, but I'll show you how to do it if you don't know. Okay, so it's just going to look a little bit heavier on this side, but that's fine. So instead of using two next ones, we're going to use the one from the previous little fringe area and the one next to it. So this little warp is just going to be doubled up. So and when you're on a big loom, it's a little bit easier just because our threads aren't so tiny and close together. Okay, so see, we did our little knot. Mine are not even at all, so let's keep it short. Okay, so now see how it's just on those two. So he just has like a little extra buddy over there.
Okay, and so on your example here, it looks like you did 2 rows
Yes.
of the raya, and you like. Oh, this is called a raya knot, right? Or am I making that up?
I think so.
All right, so it's raya, R-Y-A. If you want to learn some loom weaving vocabulary. So did you It looks like you alternated.
Yes. So I can add another layer of fringe. We can do that. But
y'all tell me how you're doing. Are you ready to move on, or are you still working on your fringe? If you're still working on your fringe, we won't rush you. We will do some more fringe too.
Yeah, I can just keep going with this and show you how we would do if we doubled up. So now I'm out of fringe. So I'm going to just cut 11. So this kind of actually transitions us easily because now we're going to go with the ones that we've already used but go in between. So
would you
like
kind of like move this one up a little?
Yeah, we can
so
have
that
him
it would
be
on the same level.
Yeah, good thinking. Okay, so to wrap, we're gonna wrap our hand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry if this is like 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, we're gonna try to cut them all off at the same length. Okay. So if we're going back the other direction, since we already have this guy on the end, who's our, next level fringe, we'll just start on this side and work our way down. So we need to go, again, not straight on top of the fringe you already made, but in between. So we're going to poke, we'll go down this time. We're going to poke through, and in the middle, and then we're taking, so we just did that on this one. Now we're going to go on our next one here and poke through the middle. So now we've got our little fringes poking out, and all we have to do is blow them tight. Spread them out so they don't hurt each other. So yeah, that's how we do our second level. I'm just going to keep going all the way across. Any questions yet?
No questions. Everybody is diligently fringing.
You guys are pros. That's what this means. One thing that I love about fringe, and you see a lot in like weavings that are ready to be sold, is just that you don't have to just do fringe on the bottom. At any point in your weaving, you can stop and add some fringe and it'll give it some texture. And you can make fringe super long. You can cut them so that they're really short if you just want it to be kind of like a little perky.
Like poke out almost like hoops.
Yeah, exactly. So there's lots of options with fringe. And once you have it down, I mean, you can do it all day. I've seen some that are just solid fringe all the way down. And they just like change colors and it makes it look kind of like a cascading rainbow. It's very pretty. You can do that. Okay, so almost got our last one. And for this one, since it's our second layer, we don't have to worry about securing the ends, securing those last threads. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave that last one empty. and you really won't be able to tell.
Yep, love it.
So we don't have to worry about that. All right, so we got fringe.
Okay, no questions. We can move on.
Alrighty. We're gonna do just like a plain, I'm gonna start with this one since it's a lot thicker yarn. You guys will be able to see it probably better. But we're just gonna do a plain weave. That's what it's called. And really we're just gonna go over and under and over and under all the way across and then all the way back. And I'm also gonna show you how I like to kind of finish the edges. So when you're weaving, obviously we can't shove this whole thing through our board. That wouldn't work. So we're just going to take a distance. So what I like to do is just kind of create a little wrap. Since this is a small weaving, you don't need a whole lot. So I'm just going to have a little bit wrapped around my fingers. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times we'll say. But again, this is your weaving. It doesn't have to be the exact same. And I'm going to cut it off.
So if you knew, okay, I want to do 4 rows of this, could you measure it out like 4 times across?
Yes.
Okay.
You definitely could.
And then just give yourself a little bit extra?
Yeah. I would say go like across about that much of your cardboard just to have some extra. However many rows you want is fine. Again, I'm not a planner, so it's not really.
That's okay. None of us were planning
style.
to be in our houses all day either, so
True.
we can be flexible. Okay, let me see if I can actually go kind of straight above you.
Okay. I'm gonna poke my hand through here. Maybe this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Here? Yep. Okay. So we're gonna go over, under, all the way across. And since we don't have a lot of yarn, we can just use the start of our yarn and just pull it all the way through. If this was our bigger weaving, we would have to shove like this whole mess all the way through. But again, I'm just going to show you how to do it this way. I think it's easier to control when we're working small. So I'm going to start with under. It really doesn't matter which one you do. I'm going to go under one, over the next one, under one, and we're going to go over the next one. Just every other one. Just picking it up, stuffing them under. Picking up the next one, stuffing them under, and then we should go all the way across. And once we're at the end, you should be able to check your work and just make sure that it's every other one. If you mess up on this, it's really not a big deal because it'll just give your weaving character. But now that I have it every other, I'm going to pull this all the way down so that I'm at the end, and I'm going to pull it snug to the bottom like that. So with the extra tails, Joe just showed me one she did. It was so pretty, where she just left her extra tails kind of flowing, and that is a great option. I'll show you how I like to finish them off, just to create kind of a neater thing if you want yours to be really clean looking.
Well, and mine were free flowing because I was lazy and had not done anything with it.
But it looked good, so that's what matters.
A creative design choice.
Okay. Well, okay. So you have this extra tail. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm not really watching. Okay.
Yeah,
so what we're gonna do with this one is just tuck it in by going over under with the rest. Just the opposite way of what we just did. So on this first strand, originally we went under first. So with this tail, we're going to go over it, and then we're going to go under like this, and then we're going to go over, and hopefully that'll be tucked in. We're going to squeeze them really, really tight to this one so that it kind of hides. So that's kind of how you hide your tails in your weaving.
And this is where you want to be careful not to pull that tail too tight.
Yes.
So that it doesn't, if you pull it too tight, it'll start to do that.
Yeah. And you don't really want this to be an hourglass shape necessarily. So while we do want to pack it, kind of tight at the bottom with your fingers, yeah, like Joe said, we don't want to squeeze them over, okay? So just keep it loose. It'll be okay. It's not going to fall out. All right, so now that we've done one direction, we're going to go the opposite direction, and we are going to use the weave that is opposite, essentially. So this first one, we went under that time, so now we need to go over. So we're going to pick up the next one to go under, go over, pick up, push it under, pick up the next one, push it under, pick up, under, over, over.
So you just were going over, under, and you were ignoring whatever just happened right there.
Okay. So we're going to kind of try and cover that up. So we're going to pull our strands out to the end, and we don't want to pull tight. We just want to leave some extra room. I like to make sure even there's a little bit extra poking out because why not? It's kind of cute. And we're going to pack it down to the bottom. And this time, if we kind of cover that one up, it just kind of blends in.
Yep.
All right, so you guys know the drill. We're going the opposite way this time. So we just went over this one. So now we need to pick it up and go under, over, under. Oh, messed up. Pick it up, poke it in, poke it up. Get the next one, all the way through. So one thing I love about weaving is that you can do all sorts of things with the warp, which is this extra stuff, and your weft is this side to side yarn. So for mine here, I'm not really packing it hard so that you can see all of the warp kind of poking through. It's just fun when you have a fun color for your warp. But if you wanted, I'll do another one. I'm about to switch colors for you guys, but another plain that is really packed in so you can't see it. But I think that this is enough rose for me for this color, so I'm going to transition. So I'm going to cut off just a little bit of tail here. And then like I showed you last time, we're going to tuck it in. So we just went under, got to go over, and then under this one. We're kind of fraying out. Over, and then under that one. We're going to try to tuck him in really good. And that is going to get covered up later, so we don't have to worry about him. Okay. Alright, I'm going to show you with a smaller yarn, and we're going to pack it really tight so we can't see our warp. But we're still going to do the same. We're still going to do the same, just plain weave. Plain weave being over, under. Let's see if I do my measuring. About that much. We're going to go, how many do we need? Probably like 6. How many have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then after this one, we're going to add some other materials and texture. Okay, when you're starting back, there's not any like specific way, like direction you need to start in. Whatever's more comfortable for you. I think I'm right-handed. I like to go to the left first. But one thing we do want to do is try to follow the opposite of the over-under. So just like we would continue in the purple with this one, we saw that we just went under last, so we're going to go over first this time, and then under, over, under, all the way across. If you are doing a lot of colors, or not a lot of colors, but like a lot of area with one color, one thing you could do is get like an actual embroidery or not like a metal, what is it called?
Like a needle?
Needle, yeah. But they make like these big plastic embroidery needles that kind of help this process. If you have trouble like poking it through with your fingers.
Called a tapestry needle?
Yeah, I've seen them called that too. Okay. So again, going back the other direction, over, under.
Because then you can go over, under with your needle.
Yeah, you just kind of
instead of having to do it with your.
Exactly, it goes kind of by faster. But if you don't have one of those, makes it work. Okay, for this one, since this is so thin, it's really easy to pull it tight, but we do not want to do that. I'm going to make sure that it's kind of loose over here at the edge. But we do want to pack it tight together with this stuff. Oh, you guys, I forgot to tuck my tail in. Okay, I'm going to lift this up just so I can tuck my tail back in.
Hey, look, it's the curve. Let's flatten that curve back down, Maggie.
Oh, no.
Just a little quarantine humor for you guys.
I'm triggering everyone online. Oh, no. Okay, enough of that.
There we go. Look at that nice flat curve.
So funny. Okay. So now we just went under. We're going to go over this time. Remember that you just look. Really, it's kind of mindless once you get into the rhythm of it. As long as you check like your edges and make sure you're following the right edges. I will do this sometimes when I'm like watching TV or something and realize that, oh, I didn't check my edge and now it just falls right up. Okay, so we can kind of poke them together, make it a little tighter than our last one. Any questions yet?
Nope. I think everybody is diligently weaving and coming in and out of our live video.
Fair enough.
I love it when you guys show up live, even if you can only show up for like a minute or so. I know these videos are long,
so
but
nice.
when you pop in just for a minute and I see your name come up, it makes me really happy. So thank you for doing that with us.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you're watching this later on, then you can obviously pause or like fast forward a bunch of this. If you're like, oh, I got this plain weave, I'm good to go. All right, I'm just gonna go back one more time, make sure that's not too snug, and see how these are packed together more.
Yeah, we can't really see the warp at all.
It's kind of nice. So, lots of options. All right. We're under all day long. Cute. Okay, I'm going to trim it a little bit because we don't really need that much extra to tuck in. Scraps over there. And again, we're just following the opposite. So we went over and we went under. We need to go over this time. Okay, and we're going to poke them under.
So you just want to, when you do that, you want to end on the back.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't stick through the front, and you really just want to make sure you go over like 4.
At least 3 or 4.
Okay.
Exactly. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, we're trying to tuck it in the back. This one's kind of poking it, but we can poke them down later. Okay, I'm going to add some ribbon because like I said earlier, I don't know how much yarn you guys have at home. You might not have a lot, but you can use all sorts of stuff. So this is obviously really thick ribbon, and I'm going to cut it like just to the edge of our cardboard. And then because this is kind of gross, I'm going to cut this extra junk off.
Or you might want to fray it on purpose and then
that's true.
Fray out on the end.
Yeah, you can fray it out, or you can get like a little lighter and singe it if you don't want the frays to start happening. So with the ribbon, anything's possible. You can go under over like we have been doing. I'll just show you some options because I think it's fun. And you can like leave it the full size if you want. I think that's kind of pretty when it's just like, I mean, this is what, like 2 whole inches. You can leave that whole area ribbon. That's kind of cute. Or what I did with this one is I got the ribbon and like twisted it up like this and then poked it through. So it was a little bit thinner, and it kind of gave it a cool texture. That's an option. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm just going to like fold it in half. So it's a little bit skinnier.
There you go. You wandered off.
I know. So I'm just going to fold it in half and do just every other plain weave. And since I got glossy ribbon, it's kind of slippery, but I mean it's framed, but it's fine. Some character. Okay, it's kind of, so you just kind of fold them in half. And we got a little ribbon, a little extra guy. And you can just leave these hanging out, or if you wanted to, you could fold them like over to the back when we're done hot gluing down if these bother you. I kind of like it poking out. I think it looks cool. But that is certainly an option. Okay. We're gonna see this guy's kind of poking out, but we can put them back in later from the back. All right. You can do pretty much a plain weave, but like add some variety to it. So I'm going to show you with this purple how we can kind of skip some. Instead of doing every other one, we can like cover 2, don't cover 1, cover 2, do a cover 1, and just kind of look at, see what that might look like after a while. And I'm probably going to do about 4 rows of that, of just instead of going over 1, under 1, going over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1. See how that goes. Okay, so again, we always got to start opposite of what we did last. So we're going to go over 2 this time. So 1, 2, over 2. Oh wait, that won't work because we got those guys. Okay, I'm going to go under this one. So under our 1 here, and then over 2. Does that make sense? Then under 1, over 2. And right now,
it's going to mess it up
weird.
on the first row. Yeah.
Then
this would maybe be a time if you wanted to do another row of fringe.
Yeah.
Because it would disturb what's
all
happening
that.
here. So you could do a row of fringe and even cut it really short so it was like look like a little poof ball, and then start something like this.
That's true.
But do a few rows for us so we can see what it'll build up to.
So over 2, under 1. Yeah, I'm running out of space. I don't think I could do something. Okay, and then we pull it all the way across. And we're gonna tuck our tail in kind of the opposite. So I have to go under this one. This first one's gonna be a little bit odd just because we have to deal with our tail, but that's fine. And then we're gonna see I have to go over and then under these 2 guys. Okay, hopefully my hand didn't get super in the way there.
So I'll say this is just how like different people self-teach different ways. How Maggie has been tucking her tail in above. I tuck my tail in under because then I don't get confused with this next row.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you catch yourself getting confused, you can just raise this up a little and tuck it under.
Yeah, so we can do the same thing of going under the opposite, you know, and then over and then under 2. And then just kind of tuck it in down at the bottom. That works too.
And it's all like it's all the same. Yeah, but I sometimes find myself getting a little confused.
That's fair. Okay, so then we have to go over because of our last situation and under 1. So after we've gone under this one, we're going to go over the next 2. So under 1 and then 1, 2, over, and then under this one. And then over 1, 2, under 1. And then over 1, 2, under 1. And we don't want to pull too tight because we have to have that extra stuff on the end so it doesn't start looking like an hourglass. Alright, so you can already see that there's a difference between these. It's a little bit different.
And I think it's going to like look like a little stair step. Since
it will.
Yeah, it's super
cool. The longer
cool.
you go, it will like go in a diagonal, which I like. Okay, so we got to go over this first one and then under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1.
Under 1 almost sounds like underwear.
Whoops, it does.
How many of you, be honest, are crafting in your underwear right now because you're in your house?
Don't blame me, guys. No judgment there.
Nope.
Alright, we're going back. So we got to go over because we just went under 1, over 2, under 1. And this is probably going to be my last one just because I didn't cut a ton of thread for this style because we're running out of space. Okay. So how do we look?
Ooh, I love that.
It's kind of cool. I like the texture it gives more than this down here. So this is kind of flat, but you can kind of see all the texture in here. Alright, so I'm going to tuck this strand in, and then I'm going to show you how I use my t-shirt and show you the final, more complicated one if you're feeling up for the challenge. Okay, so we got to go opposite how we've been doing, and then I'm going to just tuck it down, and you know, he's kind of a furry guy, so he's having trouble here. I'm just going to try to get them in the back. Really, your back can be a hot mess because nobody's going to be looking at it. So if it's kind of tucked in, as long as you have it under, like, warped through these few first ones, it's okay if the rest kind of just pokes down back there. Okay. Looks like everybody's good with that. Okay, so I'm going to use my t-shirt. And I just like using non-traditional items because, one, I think it's a good challenge, and two, it's good for our environment to repurpose things. So I feel like I'm contributing to that. Okay, so what I did was just cut kind of a bottom strip off, and you don't want this like seam to get in your way, so I just cut next to the seam, and then I'm going to cut a little strip here, just a little tear, and then I can just kind of yank it. What is this called when you do this?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but
I would just call it ripping the fabric, but it probably has
probably has
a fancy name.
I didn't know, since you know more about sewing things.
Yeah, but only mostly quilting, and quilters wouldn't do that. We would just use our rotary cutter.
Oh yeah, that's more official. Just yanking it apart. Okay, so now I have my little strip, and I'm gonna pull it. So like with, I guess this is just cotton. With cotton, you can just kind of yank it and like stretch it so that it's more of a thinner like.
Well, it's what happens, I think, when it is knit, like when it is like a t-shirt, like a stretchy material.
Can you all see that? How it just kind of rolls over on itself?
Yeah,
more or less.
we can see.
Okay, cool. So now I got this long strip. All right, warning, difficult weave coming up. You guys can do this though. If you haven't had questions so far, I believe in you. Okay, so this is called a Soumak. Yep.
Soumak.
Yes.
I think that's right.
Yes. So you can look up this online too to get different instructions, but essentially we are wrapping kind of in a circular motion around our warp, and that is what's going to give us this texture. See how it kind of like loops? There's a certain way we need to do it. Up here, which we are not going to attempt today, but I can easily show you, is just a Soumak going in one direction and then one going in the opposite direction. And this is what people do that make it look like this beautiful, elaborate French braid in the middle of their weavings, when really it's not that difficult. Anybody can do it. And for this, you really do need to use either thicker yarn or something like this that's going to give you thickness. It's hard to do with a really thin yarn like this blue one, and give it that texture, because
or you can do, I did it with thin yarn, but like 5 strands of it, like
that's
a lot of strands.
You can do it that way. Yeah, you just need more material than a little tiny yarn. Okay, so what I'm going to do is tuck in my little bit. I just go like, since this is a big deal, I go under 2 and then over 1 and then just make sure it's
Since it's a big deal, you mean like since it's a
big yarn.
Okay.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. Okay, since it's a big yarn, that's kind of how I handle it. So you've gone under 2, over 1, under 1 to start. And this is not crucial. If you do it a little bit different, it won't mess you up. So with this one, we go over 2 and then under 1, but it's not like across, you kind of circle back. So we're going over these first 2 guys. Then we're going to lift up this third one.
So really we're going over 3.
Oh, yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes, we're going over 3. Then we're circling back to the third one and stuffing under the opposite direction. Okay, so we've circled back, we've gone over our 3, we've gone under this first one. So it creates this big old loop. Then we just kind of want to scrunch them down at the bottom.
Okay.
So it creates kind of like a little diagonal. So then we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to go over 3, but this one is going to count as one of our 3.
Okay.
That's how I do it. I think you can do it other ways, but This one's
Well, the
gonna
key
count.
would be, I think, just to be consistent. However
Yes.
you're going to do it, just keep.
That's true.
That first one feels a little different because you're just getting started,
Yes.
and then you're just going to stay consistent. Okay.
So we're going to go over this one we just did. Then we're going to go over one more. And for this one, this is the one right here that we're circling back on. So we're going to go under him. So we went over the first one, over the second one, over the third, circle back and pull it under towards the direction we came. Now we have our second little loop.
Okay.
And just going to try to get him to where he's kind of flat. Okay, so over, over, over. Then we're going to circle back on the third.
And this one especially, you don't want to pull too tight because it'll make all these warp threads like bunch up, and you'll have a hard time trying to separate them afterwards.
Yes.
I learned that the hard way.
Already mine are kind of bunchy, but I'm trying to be loose. Okay.
And if you're loose, if you're too loose, it's just going to give you more texture here. So you really don't have to worry about being too loose. Better to be too loose than too tight.
Yeah, I agree. As long as your bottom thing's tucked in, you're good to go. Mine is slipping out, but that's fine. Okay, so we're just gonna keep going. Over 1, 2, 3, circle back, pull it through, like so. And then we're going over 1, 2, 3, and circling back for our last one. Then we get to tuck them all down. We have this nice little rope texture.
Okay, so how would we go back the other way?
Okay, you want to go back? All right, so for the next part, we've got this tail at the bottom, and we're kind of just gonna, there's different ways to do this.
Okay.
But
So
I'm just
that just means when there's different ways, it means you can't do it wrong.
Exactly.
So don't worry if the way you come up with isn't exactly like Maggie's.
That just means that you are inventive.
Yeah.
If you do it different. Okay, so this time we need to do the same idea but going the opposite direction. So this time we went this way, we need to go opposite direction. So we're still going to go over 1, 2, 3 and under that third one, like so. Poke them through and pull it back towards ourselves. And you will notice that this is going to create kind of just like a little, what looks like a fishtail to me, a little fishtail braid. And that this is just one little, let's see if I can show you. This is just one like little loop on the edge, which is perfect. Okay, so we are counting, let's see if I can stretch this out so we can kind of see what we did. This is counting as our first one. So 1, 2, 3, we go over those and then poke it under again. And I need to stretch mine so that it's not so bunchy. Okay, over 1, 2, 3, under. It looks like we're going to have just the right amount. Oh no. Okay. My little warp popped off.
Because I didn't cut them long enough, deep enough.
Well, putting a lot of strain on his poor little neck. Okay, so I'm going to try to just pop him back. Come on. Using my, I do these, like I do little voices on accident while I'm teaching all the time. Like, come on, little guy, you can do it.
Okay. We
do you use voices?
Yeah. And faces, I think, as well.
Okay. Crisis averted. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Under. I know. Somebody told me once that my like little voice for things sounds like Marcel the Shell, which I count as a very high compliment. Okay, so let me do that. Let me show you what I'm doing. Okay, so for this last one, we have 1, 2, 3, and it's got to go over that last one and under. So how we're going to finish that, we have this little extra tail, is we kind of have to lift it up so we can see what we're doing here. But we're going to go over this one, like we just went under here. We're going to go over the next one and under the third one. Okay. So I'm going to go over that second one, under the third one, and then we're just going to keep it under the fourth one if you have that extra stuff. And so when we pack it down, nice and tight, you can't see them anymore. this one we can still see, but again, you just kind of.
Well, when you pull it off the loom, you can fix that too, right? Like
yeah, you can adjust things from there. Okay, if I were gonna finish this, I would try to push a little bit down because we need some space at the top. And if I had a lot of room, I would probably go in with this yarn again and do that same like small amount of plain weave on the top, just because that'll really hold this together nice and tight. Anything you have like a bigger thing or a looser piece at the top, we want to make sure it's nice and secure and add some plain weave to it. So I'm not going to do it on this one just because we need the extra space, but if you were in this situation, needed to finish, I would probably just kind of shove everything down, add some plain weave, which you guys are pros at this point, and then you would be done. It's kind of crazy. Most people don't really want to display their weaving on a piece of cardboard for its whole life. So I'm going to show you how we would take it off of the loom that we have here and attach it to something. Some people will buy like a small dowel rod or something that looks fancy, but we are going to use a stick, which you guys all have access to outside. So just any old stick will work. It can be whatever length, and I'm going to show you on this finished one from the other day. So really the main thing is you just want to make sure your stick is wider than your warp. If it's really close to the warp, you might have a little bit of trouble. So just make it wider than the warp. What I like to do is start with the top, taking off the top first, because the bottom's really easy to take off, and it'll just kind of keep us rooted while we're doing this one. Okay, I'm going to show you my back here. So on the back, both of my ends are actually on the top. Sometimes you'll have one end on the top, one end on the bottom.
That's what that one's.
Is that what yours is? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in this case, it would be a little bit different because we have one on the top, one on the bottom. But I'll show you when that comes up. So for the first one over here, we are going to take the first one here off, and we can't let it go or else, you know, it's not going to end well. And what I'm going to do is just kind of wrap it around and just tie it in a little knot.
So you're tying it to the same string?
Yes, to itself.
Okay.
On the stick. And I like to try to put my knots at the back.
Okay.
So they're not as like well seen. And I try to keep it pretty close to the bottom.
Okay.
Or close to the top. Whatever's the top and bottom. Close to the weaving. So I'm just going to do one knot. Since this is so small, it's kind of hard to do two little knots, but we're going to see if we can do it.
This is little fumbly things like this. You always just kind of like close your eyes and stick out your tongue and hope for the best. You can't really see what's going on.
Okay, here we go. So just know that I have double knotted it.
Okay.
And it might poke out, and we're going to be fine with that. Okay, for this next one, now we're going to go to the next one. One thing about cardboard, you can just kind of pop it off. That's pretty easy. And what I'm going to do is cut this next one kind of in the middle, just at the top. So now we're going to just have to make sure that one of those goes over. See, now my extra's kind of poking out there. One of those goes over and one of them goes behind. And we're going to tie a double knot again. So you can try to hide this in the back, which I'm going to try to do. So I just got one knot.
So this is why you need to have extra at the top.
This is why you need extra, because if you don't have extra, then you'll have like tiny little baby tails that you're working with. Just a little bit difficult. Okay. So we're just gonna go all the way across with this. And if you guys are stuck, just let me know. But it's pretty straightforward, I would say. And if your little like extra knot tie stuff shows up on the front, it's really not a big deal. Or you can try to cut them shorter, or hot glue them down if they're really pokey outy.
Bree says we can't wait to try this tonight. Looks amazing.
Oh,
Bree,
yeah,
we
Bree.
can't wait to see what you make. Make
I
sure you post
know.
it to the group so we can see.
You should put everybody's on Instagram too and how they have been doing.
Yeah, if you're on Instagram, you can post your stuff over there too and encourage people to join our group here.
Yeah. Okay. That'd be so fun. I just love how the weavings have become such a like accessible thing for people. I took a weaving class in college where we had like huge looms. Jo took this class as well, so she can empathize with me. But it wasn't like, oh, weaving's something I can do at my house. So
No, I didn't enjoy it at all because I didn't. I think the weavings we did were like if you bought a Mexican blanket and
yes,
it was woven. It was like that, and I didn't get to play with like the texture or any of the stuff like this.
So,
I didn't know to appreciate it when I took it.
yes, this is just such a fun thing that I'm glad everybody's doing now. And it's one of the things that like a lot of my students will like because a lot of people think like, oh, I'm not like artistic if I can't, draw realistically really well. But like working with your hands, you don't have to be able to draw to do this. It's very approachable for everyone.
And like Maggie used lots of different, well, not even lots, like
just like
three different things, and came up with something super cool. But even if you only have one thing, still playing with like with varying your plain weave and all of that, you can still come up with something cool.
I've seen people like weave in like Walmart sacks and like all sorts of different stuff to give cool textures.
Okay, speaking of that, Bree says, y'all may have already covered this, but what kinds of materials do you suggest to use in the weavings? Look like y'all used ribbon and yarn. Is that a rolled up t-shirt too? She came in a little late.
Yes. You can truly use whatever you want, but I like using t-shirt and ribbons and just extra fun stuff. Anything
you can even use like if you have strips of fabric, like regular sewing fabric,
scraps.
You could use that.
Okay, so we're at the end here. My little guy kind of is. I have like this much on one end and that much on the other. I'll probably just break it off.
Cut that off.
Just fine. Wasn't paying attention. Okay, so we have our last one. Again, you guys know like mine had both the ties or both the ends on the top. So we're just gonna do what we did the first time and try to tie it to itself. Just a little bit challenging. I'm gonna take this off.
This is another part that just secure it to the stick. If you can't do it exactly like Maggie's doing it, or if you think, wait, how did that work? But you can figure out a way to tie it on, just do whatever works for you.
If you gotta hot glue the end on, like, do what you gotta do. I love a good hot glue. Just solves all your problems. Okay. And we got them on here. Okay, so now our bottom is still attached. And this is really easy because now that our top's secure, we can just kind of flip it over and just kind of push that off. Most people, you're going to have fringe right here. I had a plain weave to start on my example, so sorry about that. But yeah, but I have a plain weave in between. So as I pop it off, it's going to be kind of loose. Uh-oh. Really yanked him out. Okay, so what we need to do is really just pull everything down tight at the bottom. So I'm just pulling that fringe at the bottom really tight.
Bree says hot glue fixes everything.
Amen. That's what I gotta say. So basically I just gotta pull everything, make sure it's nice and snug. Whoops. Y'all, I'm doing it not even in the camera. My goodness. Okay. So kind of stretching everything out, which works well because like usually when you're tying up the top, you end up kind of getting it pretty tight up in there. So we can just kind of stretch everything, make sure nothing's falling out, all that good stuff. And then if I can get my Let's try to make these guys look fancy for you. Can't see them. We have our final weaving.
Yay!
And if you want to like hang this up, you can either just like poke a little nail under this, or you could add whatever yarn you want and just tie it to the sides on each side here, whatever color you want, and then it can hang from there. It's really easy.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier before we started the class about, I'm going to flip the camera so we can look at you now. Ah, so you can look at the ceiling.
It's kind of tricky.
Sorry, it's on this tripod.
I'll stand behind you.
So we were talking earlier about making like little bitty ones that you can turn into a necklace. You can make really big ones, whatever. You can do really whatever you want with this. It's maybe the most versatile craft we've done so far.
Ornaments.
Ooh, ornaments would be cool. You could do a lot of little ones and make like a garland.
Possibilities are endless.
Yeah, we could sit here and think of possibilities all day. So we will say goodbye for now. Tonight at 7, there is a hand lettering class, like brush lettering. We're just going to use Crayola markers. So if you have regular Crayola markers, you can join. There will be I will add a PDF to the group that you can print. So it'll be practice sheets that you can join along with us. My friend Caitlin will be here to teach that. Tomorrow is macrame, Saturday is some quilting classes, and then we're working on things for next week. So I will put a post in the group if you kind of letting you know the schedule, but also if you have suggestions on things you want to learn, questions you have, or whatever, let me know because I want to just be a resource for you guys while we're all stuck at home. So Bree, thank you for being here all the way to the end, and we can't wait to see what you make, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.